All right, welcome to Unit 1. In Unit 1, your required reading for this week is going to be just from the Posgar textbook, Chapter 1, 2, and 3. Pretty straightforward reading there. You will also, there are the chapter PowerPoints are here. Those can be very helpful. If you have the ebook, I believe that you also have access to the PowerPoints through the ebook. But if not, they are all available here for you. Also, you'll have your lecture tips here, obviously. If you're listening to this, you're on that. And then you have your short answer one assignment. Your short answer one assignment is a discussion group assignment. You'll find the instructions here. Each one of your short answer assignments are essentially going to be the same, obviously with different questions. I want to make sure that you understand that you need to use APA to cite your references. You do not have to necessarily write an APA format for this. It's just a question and answer. It is short answer. So you need to do more than just a very basic 1 to 2 sentence. You need to really kind of go in and describe your answer a little bit more. You need to make sure that you do in-text citations and that you also have a reference list at the end. Do not upload a Word document into the discussion so that I have to download that. You can type on a Word document and then copy and paste it directly into the discussion forum, or you can type directly in the discussion forum, whichever works out best for you. But please, again, do not attach a Word or a PDF document that has to be downloaded, okay? It makes it very, very difficult to grade and very difficult for your peers to look at your short answers and respond back to that, okay? So make sure that it's very clear and concise. In addition to your primary post, you did make also at least 2 additional posts. Those need to your other classmates so that you're reading some of your other classmates in your peers' material and making a good response to that, not just a basic, oh, that's really interesting. No, really, why do you find that interesting? Do you agree with the thoughts that they had on that? Different things like that, okay? You will find on each one of your short answers assignments that you're going to have a question that asks you what from your reading, what case or scenario do you find the most interesting? Describe why you found it interesting. So that can be a case directly from your book, or it can be a case that is in the news or just something else, okay? But I would suggest that you find one from your textbook to use in that. That way everybody kind of has, because then the next question you're always going to have is a current news article or court case within the last 3 years that discusses, and it's going to be a case that's relevant to the material that you've read for that week. Okay. So in this case, in week 1, it's medical malpractice case or scenario. Okay. Give a brief overview of the case facts, issues to consider, and why you found it interesting. Make sure that you give a citation in text and a reference, full reference at the end of the document for that case or news article, whatever it is. Okay. Make sure that you're doing that. Please have good spelling, useful sentences, those kind of things that we would expect from a graduate level course. Okay. So in your reading this week in chapter 1, you're going to, for the most part, it's just really interesting history that I think that is important for you to have a good base of understanding of where we've come from in healthcare, where what we've been doing, and kind of where we're going with that. That will be very helpful for you. When it comes to the government organization, have a good understanding of the Department of Health and Human Services. It's also kind of a good basic background for you on, your social studies, your civics, how the government is organized, a whole lot of practice of healthcare in the United States. Fortunately, is very government driven. It's obviously very legally driven. Also, lots of laws that govern what you can and can't do for good reason too. Sometimes intrusive, but it's there. So that will be there to help you understand that also. And looking at Health and Human Services, understand the breakdown there, different administrations and the organizations that are within it, so that you have a really good understanding of what makes it up. Because inevitably, if you choose this, you will be doing this. Uh, if you choose this to as a profession, you as healthcare administration, you will be dealing with it a lot for sure. So within different sources of law, make sure you have a good understanding of the different sources: common law, statutory law, administrative law, where they come from, how that affects um, healthcare, right? And so, obviously, from a common law perspective, a lot of things that have happened, what's precedent, case law, okay? Administrative law, you're going to see this a lot when it comes to, um, your licensure, any kind of disputes that you have within licensure, and some insurance is really governed by administrative law. So that's going to be important for you to understand how that works. Let's see. Then when it comes to Chapter 3, tort law, so much of what you do in healthcare administration and legal and ethics is going to be dealing with tort law. You will see some criminal stuff, but primarily you will see a lot of tort law. So have a good understanding of what is tort law, what are the objectives surrounding tort law, um, what does compensation look like when it comes to torts and healthcare and medical malpractice. Okay. Then, of course, when we're talking medical malpractice, we're talking negligence. So you're going to want to have a really, really, really good understanding of what negligence is. Okay. Um, so the book does a really great job describing what negligence is. It goes kind of really in depth on different forms of negligence. You're not going to necessarily need for my class to really break down all the different forms of negligence. I don't need you to go that deep with it, but I want you to understand what negligence is, the degrees of a negligence, and you really need to understand your elements of negligence. So your duty to care, your breach of duty, your injury, and your causation. And you need to understand too that when you're talking about negligence and you're talking about a case that's moving forward within the court system, for a plaintiff to prevail on a negligence case, they have to meet all four of the elements. Okay. And so this will be important, one, for you to understand just basics, but also two, when it comes to your case analysis, one, it will be a negligence case analysis, and you're going to really need to break each one of those elements down and describe it out. And so this does this for you really, really well here. And as you move through your cases within the book and the cases that you're looking at online, when you have these elements really stuck in your head and what they mean, and you're reading the cases, it's really going to help you understand more of what it's all about. Okay. So make sure that you pay good attention to that. The summary of the cases in the book, each chapter, as you move forward out of these first basic chapters, has cases within it. It's going to give you summary of cases. These are so good. This is really, really helpful for you to understand how you would read a case, break down the case into the different information that you need. And so you can make sure that you have a good understanding of it. Also is helpful for you as you move forward in this profession. If you have a scenario within your organization that is potential medical malpractice or personal injury, products liability, excuse me, that you can have a good understanding of what the facts are surrounding that case or that scenario. And then you can break that down of what might happen if it was to go to court, right? Or how you would be able to defend that. So this is really helpful for me from a real life perspective. I really enjoy the case summaries here. I think they've done a really, really great job with that. Okay. Then you're going to move into intentional torts. And goodness gracious. And intentional torts, some of them also can be criminal elements. Okay. And so you may have an intersection of civil law and criminal law when it comes to intentional torts. But when you're talking intentional torts from a civil perspective, this is what we're talking about, right? And so the elements of assault and battery when it comes to an intentional tort may be different than assault and battery when it comes from a criminal court case perspective. So just keep that in mind. But this does give you a really great breakdown of what an intentional tort is, and what are some of the common intentional torts that you may see within healthcare. Okay. Also has some really great case breakdowns too that are really interesting. And I'm sure that as you read through some of these different cases, you'll be like, oh man, if you were ever in healthcare, like, wow, that's happened before. And for those of you that aren't in healthcare, it does a really great breakdown for you of what you may expect if you go into healthcare administration, things that you may see. Next moves into products liability. You will see so much products liability within the medical community. We have these different devices, especially as healthcare has moved more into robotics, AI, software, all kinds of things. There's all kinds of different product liabilities cases that will be coming through. And so it does a great job for you here and gives some really interesting products liability cases that have been there. So that's just going to be your unit one. I hope you find the content helpful and interesting. Please let me know if you have any questions.